Another question, will persons lose entitlement? No. On the contrary, the package is rationalized to improve. In general, all current entitlement of all packages will be taken over with the SAHA. In fact, some people will even gain entitlement with the ZV Plus. All decisions about the package are rationalized. The current packages of SZV as well as those from Aruba, Curacao, and the Best Islands has been taken as a starting point. For each type, we have assessed whether it is necessary or not, whether it is cost effective and safe. Some of the changes we can see is, as mentioned, preventative care is now added. What is that? Vaccinations, screening for cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases. If you are pre-diabetic at the moment or have any of these signs of pre-diabetic, pre-hypertension, you are not covered because SFA is a sickness insurance. It's a sickness insurance that only covers you when you are sick. So you are now having access to coverage for preventative care. You also have the option where you are covered for second opinions, which is not available for ZV at this moment, but will be available. You have dental care, which is added for all because it prevents digestive and other health problems. You'll have optical care that is added for all because good eyesight is important for children in schools, productivity, and work, and produce a more working population. Maternity care is also added for ZV because it is important to a good start. Anti-conception will be covered to prevent the cost or the burden of unplanned pregnancy. This was also something that was received by questions by members of parliament before on anti-conception being covered. Sounds too good to be true. How will the financial situation improve without premium increase? Currently, almost all costs are already covered by SZV. The change will make sure that a larger part of these costs will be covered by the premiums. Co-insurance persons will pay a premium now. Uninsured persons, as we stated, like bus drivers, taxi drivers, entrepreneurs. When I say entrepreneurs, sole proprietors will now be added. Civil servants will now pay premium on head of costs. At this moment, if you are a civil servant, your spouse, if they're working, they can be covered under you. So that is part of the separation that will happen under this package. Everyone will be, once you have an income, you will be required to pay your own premium. However, if you have no income, you will still be covered under your spouse because X% of zero is zero. Your kids will not be forced to pay their own premium. That will be handled on the part of the government. Who will be eligible for SAHA? As explained, all residents of St. Martin, as well as non-documented persons who pay taxes of labor above 20 hours a week. I have went into the speculations already. I have went into who will be involved, who is not insured at this moment, and their ability to be insured. So let's move. This is the next question. Next slide. This is something that came up a lot. Is there opt-out possibility? Yes, for those persons, those high earners that enjoy their private insurance, there is an opt-out possibility. There's a one-time opt-out that will allow you to opt out and have your private insurance. However, you will be required to pay a solidarity fee. A solidarity fee being which is a one-time yearly payment. So you'll be required to make this payment once a year, every year. Why? Most persons with private insurance, there's a cap on your medical expenses. Once this cap is up, you are then subjected to either no insurance or return back to our pool. Other persons, you are healthy, you are young, you are vibrant at this moment. This is research shows once persons reach a certain age or have pre-existing conditions, they are no longer eligible for the private insurance, so now it ends up on SZV. So there is an opportunity to opt out. However, once persons opt out, You will be accepted back in if need be, but you won't have another opportunity to opt out again.
During a recent public meeting of Parliament, I called on Minister Omar Otley to amend the current sickness insurance law of the SZV to include vendors, taxi and bus drivers, and sole proprietors. This meeting of Parliament was one requested by my colleagues Heiliger Martin and Emmanuel and myself. It was a meeting called to discuss and hear from the Minister regarding the National Health Insurance that was touted to be introduced on the 1st of January of 2024. It is during that meeting of Parliament that we learned that the National Health Insurance will not go into effect per January 1, 2024, as previously announced by the Minister. But most other questions regarding the implementation of the General Health Insurance were not answered. The Minister of Health during the meeting requested time to provide the answers to all questions posed by members of Parliament. The reason I was so adamant about the entering into force date of the National Health Insurance has to do with the coverage of several categories of persons who presently do not enjoy medical coverage. As per the current sickness insurance law, managed by the SZV, vendors, taxi and bus drivers, and sole proprietors, amongst others, are excluded because they do not fall under the category employee. In my view, with the current uncertainty about the effective date of the National Health Insurance, the Council of Ministers should, via a general national decree, amend Article 1 of the Sickness Insurance Law to include categories that now are excluded, such as vendors, taxi and bus drivers, and sole proprietors. It can also be recalled that in 2016, Minister of Health Emil Lee had negotiated with NAGICO a medical insurance for exactly the categories mentioned and others who were excluded from medical coverage. Minister Otley is supposed to be back in Parliament with his answers next week, and I hope that by that time the Minister will present changes to the present law that will cover a considerable part of the currently uninsured persons. I also asked during the meeting if there will be a phased implementation of the National Health Insurance as envisioned. If this is the case, it only strengthens my conviction that amending the current sickness insurance law to include the aforementioned persons is an important step in implementing a national health insurance by whichever name the Council of Ministers wishes to give to it. During the meeting of Parliament, I also addressed the current policy that regulates the requirement of private medical insurance for foreign work permit holders who often do not even earn more than minimum wage.
Are you SZV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SZV is cardless. Request your My SZV account today and enter the virtual office of SZV. Go to szv.sx and sign up now.
SZV, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
During the hurricane season, a potential tropical cyclone can produce rainfall that can cause flash flooding and rockfalls. Stay away from flood-prone areas during heavy rainfall, such as Jump Up Casino on Emma Plain Road in Phillipsburg, ATLH Road Roundabout, Albie Scott Road from Emilio Wilson Park until Cake House Supermarket, Zakers Gut from Petro Plus gas station until the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Welcalaken Road Cahill from Welcalaken Road Roundabout until the One-Tete Loque Roundabout, Beacon Hill Road from Sunset Bar and Grill until the beginning of White Sands Road, and Rhine Road, also known as Mullet Bay Road, after Sonesto Maho Beach Hotel to the entrance of Cooper Coy from the intersection of the University Drive until the intersection of Rio Grande. For more information on how you can keep yourself and your family safe this hurricane season, visit stmartingolf.org/hurricane. This public service announcement is brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
"13 years, adolescence, just getting into teenagehood, a young nation. And we've come together to honor the bedrock of our nation, our Constitution, and to embrace the values it upholds, values of freedom, of unity, and the relentless pursuit of a brighter future. Our theme this year, building home, building community, building nation, is powerful. I remember 1 year ago when we swore in our new governor, his very powerful speech of the village. And I've taken note that he ensures that it is in every speech that he gives. And the essence of that village comes home up to last night in a speech of another up-and-coming leader. And so that building of this nation through the core values of family, of community, and working together is the essence and symbolizes the essence of our collective journey as a people, and highlights the indispensable role we as government play in shaping our destiny. We must give gratitude to all who have worked to ensure that we could celebrate 13 years of nationhood today. There was a lot of work that went into 10-10-10. And though we might not always be happy with what we have, we are here now. We are grateful for all the hard work that went into this, because many do not conceive of all the new responsibilities that we took on with that new nationhood. Before, we could always say, it was Curacao. It's the Antilles. But for the past 13 years, it is we, the people of St. Martin. I am grateful. I am grateful for all those who have come before and all those who are currently in the trenches working to build this nation. Starting from the first point, home. Home is much more than just concrete, wood, and blocks. It is the heart of our identity, the cradle of our culture, and the soul of our nation. It is where we seek refuge, where we rest, where we regroup, where we recharge, where we teach, where we learn, where we nurture our families and dream the good dreams and work towards a brighter tomorrow. So as we gather here today, it is our shared responsibility, each individual, to work not just individually, but together towards ensuring that every St. Martiner, every single citizen has a safe and comfortable place to call home, a solid foundation from which to build their lives. Let us unite in that commitment to address those challenges that affect our homes. all of the challenges that affect our homes. And Dr. Erna Mae Francis Cotton mentioned a few, but I can't help but feel warm with the message that you sent out this morning. Ubuntu, coming together. Each one help one. None can survive if one is hungry. Every single one of us, in what we say, in what we do, in how we act towards each other, is playing a role in building the home, in building the community, in building the nation. The community is the very fabric that binds us together. And I know we're going through many transitions, and in accessing some of our history, some of us are even learning to value ourselves more. As a community, we can always talk about what others do to us, but historically, I can remember what we have done to some of our visitors, our own brothers and sisters from the Caribbean. And when I go on the international stage today, one or two have said, oh, now St. Martin needs its sisters and brothers. We have also, at a certain point in our history, taken a higher than thou, a holier than thou attitude towards our neighbors. And maybe some of you sitting here don't know this, but there was this feeling of superiority, I must say, that the Dutch Caribbean has had and continue to have for many years. But today, with many of us now also being recognized as small island developing states, even in a rich kingdom, many are now aware that we too face all the same challenges as our Caribbean brothers and sisters, and that Ubuntu cannot just be in our tiny little villages and in our communities and in our St. Martin, but it must extend to the region and beyond.
I stand before you with great pride and honor as the President of Parliament. This day holds tremendous significance as we reflect upon the journey we, the people, have undertaken to establish and uphold the principles of democracy and freedom in our beloved nation. This year we gather under the theme Jollification Season, building home, building community, building nation. This theme covers the essence of our celebration as we come together to commemorate the strength of our unity and the resilience of our people. 13 years ago, we embarked on a path that would shape the destiny of our nation and its people. We crafted a constitution that would serve as a guiding light for our government, enshrining the value of liberty, justice, and equality for all. It was a testament to our commitment to self-governance and the empowerment of our citizens. Our Constitution has been the foundation upon which our democracy stands. It has provided us with a framework of governance that ensures the protection of our fundamental rights and liberties. It has granted us the power to elect our representatives, to voice our concerns, and to participate in the decision-making process that shapes our society. It has fostered and continues to foster a culture of accountability, transparency, and good governance, allowing us to build a prosperous and inclusive St. Martin. On this momentous occasion, it is vital that we also acknowledge the importance of collaboration and unity. The challenges we face as a nation require us to set aside our differences and work together towards common goals. Our Constitution is a reminder that we are bound by a shared destiny, and it is through dialogue, cooperation, and compromise that we can overcome any obstacle that stands in our way. Let us embrace the spirit of inclusivity, and foster a culture of open-mindedness, respect, and understanding. By doing so, we can build bridges of trust and forge a path towards a brighter and more prosperous future for all citizens of St. Martin. Under the theme Jollification Season, Building Home, Building Community, Building Nation, we are reminded of the importance of creating a safe and nurturing environment for every citizen of St. Martin. It is a call to foster a society where everyone feels a sense of belonging, where their rights and dignity are protected, and where opportunities for growth and prosperity are available to all. Let us work towards building a home where families thrive, where education flourishes, and where the well-being of every individual is valued. Furthermore, building community highlights the significance of social cohesion and solidarity. It emphasizes the strength that lies within our diversity and the power of coming together as one. As we celebrate the Constitution Day, let us together reaffirm our commitment to inclusivity, respect, and understanding. Let us together bridge the divides, break down the barriers, and forge meaningful connections that transcend culture, social, and economic differences. By building a strong and supportive community, we can together lay the foundation for a harmonious and prosperous nation. Lastly, building nation reminds us of our collective responsibility to contribute to the progress and development of St. Martin. Our Constitution provides us with the framework for governance, but it is our shared commitment that will shape the destiny of our nation. Let us embrace our roles as active and engaged citizens, participating in the democratic process that drive our nation forward. Together, let us build a nation that is characterized by good governance. St. Martin, as we celebrate the milestone, let us reflect on the journey we have undertaken and the challenges we have overcome. Let us recommit ourselves to upholding the principles enshrined in our Constitution and to working towards a future where every citizen can thrive and contribute to the development of our great nation.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Address one of the most fundamental aspects of our democracy, the electoral system. In preparation for tonight, we received a list of topics to speak about and include in the discussion. However, I wanted to take a different approach in my speech. because before we rush into solutions, we must first diagnose the problems that plague us. As the saying goes, a problem well stated is a problem half solved. Therefore, tonight, I'd like us to delve into the complexities and the nuances of electoral reform, guided by questions that interrogate the very values that we uphold. So first off, proportional representation and its pitfalls. Our electoral system operates on the principle of proportional representation, which may sound complicated, but it's quite simple at its core. The political parties present a list of candidates, and seats in parliament are allocated based on the percentage of votes that each party receives. The system has merits. It encourages a multi-party system and makes every vote count. But it's far from perfect. As we've seen over the past 13 years, the system is also vulnerable for ship jumpers, elected representatives who switch party allegiance, often causing our governments to fall. This instability not only impedes governance, but also erodes public trust in the democratic process. When governments fall due to ship jumpers, or when candidates are embroiled in allegation of corruption, it's tempting to lay the blame solely at the feet of the system. However, let's be honest, we may also have a two-pronged people problem that we need to acknowledge. Firstly, and I think Mr. Gibson touched on it a little bit as well, our political parties often lack clear manifestos and ideologies, which leaves them vulnerable to fragmentation and makes them breeding grounds for ship jumpers. This glaring omission not only muddles the electoral waters, causing confusion among voters, but it also erodes the very foundation of our democratic stability. The absence of well-defined principles within parties begs the question, what are we actually voting for? It's imperative that these parties exercise better internal governance to offer clear, cohesive platforms to the electorate. Secondly, no system is foolproof if it's occupied by individuals willing to bend or break the rules for personal and political gain. Whether it's vote buying or other forms of corruption, the ethical shortcomings of candidates are a stain on our democracy that no legislative measure can fully remove. Therefore, as we think about electoral reform, it's not just about amending laws, it's about a cultural shift. We must scrutinize not just the people that we vote into office, but also the processes and the parties that propel them there in the first place. Which then brings us to the topic of vote buying and corruption, which is often treated as the elephant in the room. It's uncomfortable, but it's critical for us to address. This isn't just a violation of the law, it's a breach of the social contract that underpins our democracy. When vote buying occurs, it undermines the very idea of fair representation. It disenfranchises those who refuse to sell their vote. It elevates money over ideas, and it entrenches a cycle of corruption that goes beyond elections. But let's also consider this. Vote buying wouldn't exist if there weren't a market for it. The practice exposes vulnerabilities in our societal fabric: poverty, lack of education, or simply disillusionment with the system. And these are all issues that we need to address as well. If someone is willing to sell their vote, what does it say about their trust in the electoral process or the political promises that come with it? Strict penalties and regulations can act as deterrents, but they're just part of the equation. The rest relies on a social and cultural transformation. We need to ask ourselves difficult questions. How did we get here? And how do we rebuild a political culture anchored in integrity and transparency? That question brings us to the way forward. As we look towards the road ahead, we must adopt a comprehensive strategy. We need to acknowledge that creating the perfect electoral system won't change our current situation without addressing our role as an electorate. As citizens, we treat elections as the only moment in which we can voice our democratic preferences. However, our civic duty does not stop at the ballot. We are the institution that upholds the actions of our government and parliament. It's not enough to just plug the holes in our electoral system. We must do more as citizens if we want to see a change.